Hello and welcome. You're watching Prime 5. I'm Osama Shah. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he's on a two-day trip to Japan. There were the partnership between India and Japan. It is not just for the two countries, but also for global peace and security. In fact, during a joint briefing with his Japanese counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba in Tokyo, the Prime Minister said that discussions were productive as well as purposeful. Both the countries, they agree that the two largest economies of the world and living democracies, our partnership is essential not just for the two countries, but also for global peace and security. In fact, he also added, we have charted a roadmap for the next decade. In the center of our vision lie investment, innovation, economic security, environment, technology, health, mobility, and people-to-people exchanges.
हमने अगले 10 वर्षों में जापान से भारत में 10 ट्रिलियन येन निवेश का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है। भारत और जापान के स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस और स्टार्टअप्स को जोड़ने पर विशेष बल दिया जाएगा। भारत और जापान बिजनेस फोरम में भी मैंने जापानी कंपनियों को कहा, मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड। चंद्रयान 5 मिशन में सहयोग के लिए इसरो और जाक्सा में बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। हमारी सक्रिय भागीदारी पृथ्वी की सीमाओं को पार कर अंतरिक्ष में भी मानवता की प्रगति का प्रतीक बनेगी।
All right, Aditya Raj Kaul joins us live on the broadcast. Aditya, he's in China. He's going to be covering the very important SCO summit, which Prime Minister Modi is also going to be a part of. Aditya, as far as this visit is concerned, and as somebody who has covered foreign policy for a very long time, how do you see this particular visit by the Prime Minister, especially to China? There are a lot of talks about whether this is going to reset ties between the two countries. How crucial is this visit in that particular context?
Well, one would assume that this is a beginning. It's too premature to say at this point in time that everything would be hunky-dory, or we will, return to the time when we were speaking about the Wuhan spirit or the Chennai Connect. But this is a crucial beginning, and I would also go on to extend to say that the U.S. tariffs that have been slapped against India and the penalty has really hastened the entire process of India and China coming together. Of course, there were backdoor dialogue that was underway. We also had Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be now visiting China very shortly from Japan. But in the backdrop, there have been crucial dialogues at the level of the diplomats of India and China. We've had several military-level dialogues as well. But the most crucial of all was the meeting between NSA Ajit Doval and Wang Yi, in which there was an consensus of 5 major points, including people-to-people contact that needs to be established, including direct flights between these countries and working groups and expert committees to decide on the border confusion and the border debate that's been raging between India and China for a very long time. So I would not go on to extend to say that the normalcy would completely return, but here in Tianjin, it is a very significant and critical SCO meeting that will be taking place. And on the sidelines, the crucial bilateral between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping that will be taking place. There could be some crucial announcement when we speak about the people-to-people engagement that could reignite the ties between both New Delhi and Beijing. And apart from that, the big bilateral between Putin and Modi as well. There's been a lot of talk about how the US has been trying to bully India for getting the Russian oil. Recently, statements from the US Treasury Secretary that really haven't gone too well with New Delhi. But here on ground, all preparations underway for the SCO summit. Tomorrow is the day when Prime Minister would be heading towards Tianjin, and there will be a grand welcome by the Indian diaspora. And thereafter, the crucial meetings would be beginning.
Right. Aditya, you spoke about the Ukraine war as well as the broader context, the global context. when it comes to the Prime Minister's visit. How much of this particular summit discussions they are expected to be shaped by the Ukraine war and the shifting global alliances here?
Well, that's the most significant of all. The Ukraine crisis that's been raging for the last 3 years is the center focal point of the new international order that's beginning to take place. The US tariffs, of course, are also a crucial part of it if we go by the narrative that's been coming in from the Washington, D.C., blaming India for the entire war, blaming India to get the Russian oil. But New Delhi has been very much clear from the very beginning that this is in our national interest. We'll do whatever is in the interest of the Indian national public. And that's what New Delhi has maintained for a very long time. In fact, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has been very clear as well that if the US is not interested, then why is it taking oil from India for a very long time? Look at what the European Union has been doing. I mean, the trade and the oil and the gas that the EU or the US has been taking for a very long time from Russia is much, much more than compared to New Delhi. So certainly, Ukraine crisis, even the crisis that's been raging in Gaza, could be a subject of discussion at the SCO summit. But from India's standpoint, two most significant aspects would be trade and terrorism. India is likely to discuss, Pakistan-sponsored terrorism that's been raging continuously. We had the Pahalgam terror attack as well. If you remember, just recently, we had a situation where Defense Minister Rajnath Singh had almost refused to not sign the declaration at the meeting here in China because Pahalgam was not mentioned. So India would expect the SCO that was formed on the crucial aspect of condemning terrorism and taking steps against terrorism to also unanimously condemn Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and especially the Pahalgam terror attack.
Right. Aditya Rajkol, stay with us. In fact, as we have been mentioning, the Prime Minister, he is going to be in China to attend this very crucial SCO summit on the invitation of the Chinese President Xi Jinping. And this is on the sidelines of this upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Tianjin, that the two-day summit will have 20 world leaders, including the Russian President Vladimir Putin, also in attendance. Or on the sidelines of the summit, the Prime Minister, he is expected to hold bilateral meetings with several leaders attending this particular summit. Both India and China, they continue to ease tensions following the Delhi border clashes in 2020. Take a look at this report.
China is rolling out the red carpet for the all-important Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, expected to signal a powerful show of global South unity. From Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin, to several leaders from Central Asia, the Middle East, and more at the table, the Chinese city of Tianjin will be at the center of high-stakes diplomacy, aiming to redefine the global order, where the West's dominance will no longer be tolerated. All eyes are on the expansion of the SCO, with this year's summit likely to be the largest since the bloc's conception in 2001. Trade and counter-terrorism are expected to dominate talks. India is pushing for a strong condemnation of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, in the joint declaration. Roughly 6 months since the devastating Pahalgam attack.
Declaration at this summit that is under finalization, the text. We are working with other members and partners to see that there should be a reiteration of the strong condemnation of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism. But the text is under finalization.
This comes after Defense Minister Rajnath Singh took a firm stance and did not sign the joint declaration in June, as it did not mention the terror attack, but made direct references to militant activities in Balochistan. For New Delhi, the visit will be pivotal. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit to China in more than 7 years, as the two neighbours work on further diffusing tensions roiled by the Galwan clashes of 2020. Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold key bilaterals with the Chinese President, the Russian President, as well as the Iranian leadership. A forum largely dominated by Moscow and Beijing, the SCO gives New Delhi the platform to engage with two nations now crucial to its diplomatic power play against Washington. With tariffs tightening and pressure mounting over Russian oil, Prime Minister Modi's China visit will mark a strategic recalibration, a new balancing act in a divided world. Listen up, President Trump. It's the Global South speaking. One that will no longer tolerate Washington's bullying, but stand strong and united. With Disha Bagchi, Bureau Report, NDTV.
All right, let me go back to Aditya Raj Kaul, who's there in China at this particular time. Aditya, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the Russian President Vladimir Putin, all three of them are going to be, attending this particular summit. What I want to understand from you is, what sort of impact will this visit have on India's positioning, especially between the West and the Russia-China bloc?
Well, India has been very clear from the very beginning. As I said, from the beginning of the Russia and Ukraine war, India has said that India will not join one axis against the other. India has had historical ties with Moscow. At the same time, very, very important and deepening ties with Ukraine as well. India has condemned aggression. India has condemned terrorism. India does not stand with any kind of, humanitarian crisis that's been underway in Ukraine, where children had been attacked, where, hospitals have been attacked as well. And perhaps Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the only leader who has had direct talks, apart from Trump, with both Putin in Moscow and as well as, Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was one such leader who got a consensus at the G20 summit that happened in 2023 at the Bharat Mandapam, and thereafter went to both Moscow as well as Ukraine to tell the world leaders that solutions cannot be found in the battlefield. And this is not certainly an era of war. That message has really resonated, even though war has continued on the battlefield, but the message from India has resonated all across. Now, Washington, D.C. may create a narrative against New Delhi to pressurize Russia and to pressurize Putin. But the reality of the matter is that here at SCO, all that's being talked about is the entire collaboration between India, China, and of course, Russia. And I would, in fact, go on to the extent to say that Trump's theatrics over the last few weeks have only bridged the gaps that have surfaced between India and China ever since the Galwan crisis, in which 20 soldiers died. But it does seem that India and China both want to move past that kind of a situation, even though a full diplomatic normalcy may not arise at this particular stage, but some very crucial steps, people-to-people contacts, could be, in fact, established in the bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the SCO here in Tianjin.
Right. Aditya, as far as the SCO is concerned, the actual, body is concerned, what is the long-term value of SCO for India's foreign policy? How do you break it down?
India has been playing a very crucial role in several of the multilateral programs, from BRICS to G20 to, in fact, the SCO as well. There are several participating countries this time around, and 3 crucial bilateral meetings will be taking place where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not only be engaging with the host leader, President Xi Jinping, but also the Russian President Putin. And it is significantly important and critical because, in a few weeks from now, Putin would be visiting New Delhi as well. There is a huge question mark on the entire Quad summit that whether it will happen or not, what kind of a trade negotiation consensus could emerge between India and Washington, D.C. But around that time, I think currently a very significant step that's being taken by New Delhi is the meetings between, Prime Minister Modi's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and others that have taken place recently in, of course, Moscow and as well as in New Delhi. And now we are looking towards some very crucial meetings taking place on the sidelines of the SCO. India would engage with the world community to, in fact, talk about peace, to talk about diplomacy and dialogue being given a chance, and not, in fact, isolating a particular country, in this case, Russia or others. And as Prime Minister has resonated for the last 2 to 3 years, to completely talk about how India's national interest is significant. If US can look into their own national interest, if other countries, including the European Union, can look at their own national interests when the entire Ukraine has been converted into a battlefield, then why not India?
Right. Aditya Raj Kaul there. Thank you very much for getting us all those details and break it down for us here on NDTV. And could this, could India use the SU to project leadership of the global south even while engaging with the G7 nations? Well, that is something that time will tell. But my colleagues Aditya Raj Kaul and Gauri Dwivedi, they are in China for that crucial SCO summit. They will be getting you all the details of all the latest developments from there. Time for a very short break. We'll be back on the other side.